Good evening. Welcome to the 20th episode of Add Water and Stir. I am Adoptive Black Mom of the blog of the same name, and I am joined by co-host Complicated Melodies Mimi. What's up, girl?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Can you believe we made it to 20?
I can. That's
I
pretty
know. That means we've been consistent,
We have been
consistently on it.
so yes, high five, congrats. Thank
So
you.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes. So when last we met 2 weeks ago,
hmm
how are things going since then? What's been going on in your world over the last 2 weeks?
Well, we took Nana to Frozen. Did I talk about that last? I don't think so.
I think you were getting ready to, and like there was a whole
hmm
outfit, and you had to like, wow, it was a
hmm
whole thing.
It really is a thing. I mean, she's only 3, so this is amazing to me. So, like I said last time, luckily one of my friends had told me that I should get like something to wear. So I'm glad I did. And her friend dressed up the same, kind of similarly, and they just loved it. They just were twirling and posing for pictures, and they were just so
Well,
excited. I mean, they really were twirling, putting their hands on their hips, their imagination, as my mom used to call it. Get your hands off your imagination, you know. And so we took them there, and oh my gosh, like everybody was dressed up like this. I was surprised to see this. Everybody there had on costumes, and all the children were all excited, and it was just so much energy, and they loved it, and she's been talking about it ever since. So
oh,
she sings Let It Go at the top of her lungs every day. I mean, it's loud. It's loud, and she doesn't know the words. So I'm trying to, let's watch the video a couple times so you get a couple more words to go. So that's been good, and we are gearing up to go to our first music festival,
all
for
right.
which I've had a lot of different reactions. Some people are like, "Oh, that's cool, do your thing," and most people are like, "Why are you taking a 3-year-old to a music festival?" And yeah, because we want to. And they have a children's area there, and so obviously children are okay to come, So it'll be our first time, and I will let you guys know how that goes. So
Awesome.
things are good.
Good deal. I have to admit, I'm glad that we're way, way, way past the Frozen,
hmm
uh, thing.
But you have like Taylor Swift and all those other
Mhm.
crushes.
Yeah, she's not a huge fan of some of those, but Fifth Harmony, some little teeny bopper group with young ladies whose skirts are above their imagination. Like, they're coming to town this summer, so I think I might cop some tickets to that tomorrow. So, yeah, so the last couple of weeks have been challenging.
hmm
And good news, I found a new therapist. Yay! On the insurance. Yay! It's kind of hard
Yay!
to leave the last person, but
Was it time for you to move on?
no, it was time for me to get somebody on my insurance to stop paying out of pocket. So,
Okay, that's a good reason
yeah,
too.
it wasn't
Okay.
because he wasn't effective. It was really because yeah, I just could not continue to justify
You
spending.
said I have this good insurance. I might as well start using it. So.
Yeah. And so I found someone, and so I've had a couple of appointments, and she is kind and nurturing and really kind of helping me give myself permission to just not do some stuff. Like, I'm still kind of dealing emotionally with the whole church fiasco, which I think popped off after the
Mhm.
day after the last podcast,
Mhm.
and where we don't fit the motif, and so
Yes.
I was like, yeah, so
You
so there's that.
said I feel some kind of way about that.
I'm
Yes.
still in my feelings about that, and I kind of I feel obligated to make sure that we find a new spiritual home. And so that's causing me a lot of angst because I hate visiting churches. Like, I like to be somewhere or just not be somewhere. And she's kind of helping me work through giving myself a break, and maybe it's just that we don't need to go for a little while, or maybe we can just drop in and drop out, and that God still loves us and all that. What's up, homeboy? So so that's been good, but it's been challenging. One major breakthrough, I haven't had a chance to blog about it, but we have now had family phone contact with Hope and her grandmother, and that was a very special breakthrough, a huge breakthrough, and I think that it also means that we're kind of coming out of this dark period that we're in, and that's great and wonderful, very emotional, and I realized during the course of that how much I really miss my own grandparents, so I'm really glad that she made that, that she has some opportunity to still enjoy that time with her. So that's been what's been going on in my world. Oh, and Yappy is actually finally excelling at puppy school.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Because he was a little hellion. So anyway, that's kind of what we're doing.
You know what? I don't know if I mentioned this. We are starting to have initial conversations with Nana about adoption. And we have a couple of books that we've been using. One of them is I Wish for You, an adoption story.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, I don't see it here. I don't know the title, but it says something about forever families for like older children of foster care and adoption. There, it focuses more on like, okay, we didn't get to see your first steps, and we didn't get to see your, you take your teeth grow in and stuff like that. And this has been a little challenging, honestly, because she does not know what I am talking about at all. So she is like, I don't get, what you're trying to tell me. And, she'll pop up. I can tell she's thinking about it because she'll pop up randomly with things like, and I'm your forever mommy, talking about herself. And I'm like, well, you, so well, so I'm really uncomfortable with this conversation. I feel like I need to start reaching out to our counselors and say how to approach this, because I really want her to just know. I don't want this to be something, that is something, an event
Sure.
in her life. It's just something that, oh, okay, I always knew that. But man, I really don't know how to address it properly so that a 3-year-old can have some kind of reasonable understanding of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Uh-oh, wait a minute, something's happening. I have a website open, and clearly that website is making noise. So it was for an article that I wanted to reference later, but like all of a sudden it just kind of...
It's so rude.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Not you, the website. Just right. Automatically playing things. I do not like that. So
need that feature.
Yeah. So shall we move into our topic?
Yes, let's talk about good Samaritans or nosy neighbors.
Yeah, so that's the main. We have a couple of topics today, but that's the first one. So some episodes ago, I think it was episode 3, we talked about Deborah Harrell. That was the mother that was arrested for letting her 9-year-old go to the park unattended. And so she was arrested, and she actually was in jail for 17 days, and then her temporarily lost custody of her daughter. And that happened because someone saw her child in the park by herself and called the police. Mm-hmm. And then there's other instances that have been popping up in the news about Danielle and Sasha Maitiv, I think that's their names. They have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, so they've in the news again for letting their 10-year-old and 6-year-old go out unattended. And so once again, someone has seen the children, a stranger has seen the child and called the police on them again. And recently, Salon has been running a couple of articles by Kim Brooks about how Good Samaritans who are concerned about the welfare of children have seen call the police on parents. And that's led to a lot of nightmares for the parents so that are involving social services and the legal system. And so I feel like there's a lot to unpack there around kind of the free range movement and all those type of things. But really, what I'd like to focus our conversation on today is about the concept of the Good Samaritan and when it's really okay to intervene in someone else's parenting choices. So from my perspective, all these circumstances come from the fact that someone sees someone parenting in a different way than what they would choose for their child, and then have called somebody else to intervene in that. They call the legal system to intervene in that. And I'm just wondering, when is that okay? Like, at what point is that okay? We have lots of choices that we make about parenting all the time, right? So we don't let Nana eat a lot of sugar, but she doesn't eat a lot of sugar. But I'm not running around snatching lollipops out of other kids' mouths because I don't think they should eat as much sugar as they do. So, I mean, where is the line that we can draw that makes it okay for us to intervene? Any thoughts on that?
So I imagine it's probably, I think that the egregious cases are the ones that are easy, right? Or maybe not. Like if you see a kid in a car. I mean, it's a hot day. If you see a kid in the car, if you're standing there and like 30 minutes have gone by, because I know we had a case, we've had just across the river in Maryland in the last couple of years, we had a casino open, and we've had several cases of parents like roll into the casino, kid in the backseat,
Right.
young kid in the backseat, and like they're in there, kind of pulling, running the slots, and police were called. So, in those kind of situations, it's like seems to be the right thing to do. But kids kind of walking down the street, um, you know, how do you follow them and not be the creepy stranger? Like if you see somebody else snatching them, like how do you make sure that the kids are safe and don't need help without being like the creepy stranger who then goes to the next step and calls? I
Yes.
think it's great. It feels strange, and for me, Hope is 13, almost 14, and so I'm kind of like, okay, but she can walk to the 7-Eleven. Like
Right.
she's 5'8". She's young. She definitely looks young in the face, but like from the back, she looks like a grown woman. Like let her go to the same, grocery store.
Mhm.
But so I don't know. I don't know where that line is for between kind of you're being the good Samaritan, kind of being the village, versus like the neighbor that is,
Well, I
um,
think some of it goes back to intent, right? So, well, a lot of the comments that I read um, indicate that the village is dead. That's what I get from the comments. Basically, a lot of the comments are focused on, I don't want to have to police your unattended child, right?
right.
So if you send your child to the park and they're by themselves, or your children to the park and they're by themselves, I feel like I have to have some responsibility for watching over them, and I'm just there to make sure my kid has a good time. So to me, that just says that people are just, and from my perspective, I'm like, well, if your kid's over there and my kid's over there, you're already watching them. So, unless something extreme happens, you're not really expending any additional energy from just kind of having a general oversight over there. And I think that's where some of the challenges come in. I want to go back to your point about egregious. Is that the word you use? Trying to
Yeah.
be fancy, but
I got $70,000 worth of words I need to use.
so even the situation about the car. So a lot of these situations that Kim Brooks, the Salon articles are about parents who leave their child in the car, and in many cases they left the child in the car to run in for one item, and they can, in some cases they were able to tell by the parking receipts, they were back in 10 minutes. It
Mhm.
wasn't hot outside, it was cool. The kids, maybe there was a 8-year-old and a 4-year-old or something like that, and sometimes the child was asleep or something like that. And in some of the cases, parents will, I mean, other strangers will block the car in so that the parent can't leave. You have people that are videotaping the situation. And so it goes back to motivation too. Like if it's a village thing, right? Your thought process is more, hey, I'm just watching out to make sure nothing happened. You good? You know, it was 10 minutes. You good? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Maybe I might be like, you know what? You probably shouldn't do that. But, you know,
Right.
that's different than I'm going to call the police on you because I think you're a bad mother and you should
Yeah.
be punished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when Good Samaritan goes into a punitive mode, you know, that's where I'm challenged with that.
Yeah. So I tried to see if I could find statistics on kind of false or unsubstantiated allegations of child abuse, which, that term is going to be a pretty big catch-all. There's a whole bunch of stuff that comes under that, child abuse or maltreatment. And so there's an organization that runs the national child abuse hotline, Child Help, and they said that a report is made every 10 seconds in the U.S. And that accounts for 3 million reports in the U.S. involving 6 million children. So, on average, 2 kids for every call, right? And in 2012, 700,000 children were found actually to be victims of maltreatment of some kind. So that's a lot of kids. It doesn't necessarily mean that the other 2.3 million weren't abused in some way, but maybe they didn't finish the investigations, or they weren't completely substantiated, or whatever it is. But the data is kind of shaky out there. The most recent data that I could find was there were a couple of studies in the 90s that were kind of meta studies or kind of reviews of many studies. And so the estimates for reports that are false and or just unsubstantiated, so they may have been filed Good Samaritan, nothing came of it, or like the case in Maryland, or the cuckoo crazy, I'm divorcing you and I'm taking the kids kind of crazy false reporting. But it really is estimated to be about 10% of maltreatment or abuse reports. And so it's kind of a small amount. They think that it may even be smaller than that because abuse in general is underreported. And so,
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Out
yeah,
of all the reports that come in, only 10% of those are actually substantiated as abuse. Is that what you're saying?
no, 10% are considered false or unsubstantiated.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and so again, those two categories, false or unsubstantiated, can be a pretty big group. You've got the punitive folks that I think you're a terrible parent, or the folks that, again, are in bad domestic, maybe custody disputes, like I'm taking the kids and I'm going to tell them that, you swing from the chandeliers. And but it also may include those folks who, like the Maryland couple with the free range kids, the 6-year-old going to the park by himself kind of stuff. So it's kind of a catch-all, but it's estimated in general that those things those filings that are unsubstantiated in any way, there's nothing there, accounts for 10%. But I don't see any data on kind of the impact on those families that have been, the subject of reporting, and nothing was wrong, but their lives were really kind of turned upside down.
Well, I think the other thing that to think about that, I understand what you're saying. So if I understand you correct, so 90% of those were substantiated,
In some
right?
kind of
So
way, yeah.
yeah. And so I guess my thing is to think about this from a systematic point of view. Who defines what that abuse looks like, right? So when we're talking about actual physical abuse, right, we can understand that. And even though even that is kind of up in the air, different people have different thoughts on the spectrum around that. But some of these people who are, leaving their child in the car for a couple of minutes, for 10 minutes or whatever, are actually being taken to jail and jailed
Mhm.
and having their children taken away from them, like in the case of Deborah Harrell, right? So that would be a case of substantiated abuse. And what I guess my point is that this changes over time, right? So back when I was growing up, there was a whole instance of latchkey kids, right? That's what you were.
Yeah.
You were a latchkey
That's
kid.
yeah.
Everybody knew that you went home by yourself. You had a key. I mean, they had a whole term for it. But
Right.
now that's unacceptable, right? And
Right.
so my concern is who makes those decisions about what parenting actually should look like.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's really where it comes from.
Yeah.
Like who is the body that is deciding these rules to say that it used to be okay to be a latchkey kid, now we've decided that it's not okay. And again, who is this impacting? Now I see a lot of white women in the news about this, right? We're getting this free range discussion talking about a lot. So I wonder if we're going to make a pendulum swing from helicopter parenting where it's absolutely unacceptable for you to do any of this. But now we have all these people being arrested for, their parenting choices. Is a pendulum going to swing someplace different?
Well, I think that you make a good point that what are the cultural norms and what are the rules of the day? Because there was, I mean, when I got older, my mom was home for a while, like in my primary school years, but then by the time I got to like middle school, high school, I was latchkey. Like, okay,
Hmm.
so I had a key and I let myself in. And there were all these rules still about that, and I have those kind of rules with Hope as well. Um, but we're in a period now where I think I don't know if the data really supports the fact that more women or a parent in the home are staying home, when kids are very young. But then there's also this whole movement of when they get to be teenagers that you should be at home because God knows what you'll find them doing if they're latchkey kids between the hours of 3 and 6. Which incidentally, that is like the bewitching hour
Yes, it is. I agree. Three
for,
and six is a bit
for
winter now.
teens to get in trouble. And so we have these kind of things. And I guess for me, I also wonder, not only have the norms maybe changed or evolved, or we've become more paranoid, legitimately or not, but it also feels that the rules of engagement are not uniform across
Absolutely.
and thus the punishment is not uniform because this notion of sending your kid to the park by him or herself under the age of 10 when I was growing up wasn't that big of a deal, but I also depending on where I live, I may or may not do that, but I never heard it called free range parenting. Like all of
Yeah,
a sudden
that is true.
chickens, we got organic food, and now all of a sudden we got air quotes free range parenting.
Yes. Where and I think we talked about this when we talked
Yes, we
about
did.
Durga Harrell. Basically, this is a social economic thing. Again, all these parenting things, these terminologies that we use, from free range parenting to attachment parenting to child free versus childless, and all these terminologies that we use in talking about the parenting spectrum are really like the realm of middle class folks, because
Oh
it's
yeah.
plenty of people on the lower social economic scale that are sending their children to the park and they are kicking it, and not nobody is
Like
calling
all
it free range anything, and all of these things. They're not making all these, adding all this terminology to their parenting decisions.
yes, I'm starting to think that it's just parenting jargon. It's
Yeah.
very jargon.
But I think the problem is that the parenting jargon impacts people,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And the thing is, it's that may be true. You may be more paranoid, but your paranoia, how does that impact the way that I live my life and my choices that I'm making for my children? Again, it's not necessarily even about leaving a child in the car, because maybe
All
you
right.
can say that's more of a dangerous situation and people don't necessarily know what to do. But it comes from, if you see somebody, giving their child a bottle, You know, do people feel like strangers feel like it's okay to come up to you and tell you that you should actually breastfeed your child? Or, you know, like I said, the type of snacks that you give your children. She shouldn't be eating hot Fritos. Well, you don't know about us. Don't be talking,
So,
talking about my convenient, my ratchet snacks,
or,
First of all,
right,
Nana doesn't eat hot
that's what I was
Cheetos, but I'm
saying.
just saying.
Well, but I think that there's certainly a correlation between how much parental autonomy you have or think you have and class. And what that lens of that autonomy that you look at the rest of the world and sit in kind of judgment of them. And so, and thinking about that, I kind of said, okay, let me go see what is, when you sent me this topic to think about discussing, I said, well, gee, what is the definition of parental autonomy? So I went and found one. It says the definition of autonomy in regards to parenting is the right of parents to raise their children in whatever way they see fit. This doctrine restricts powers of local, state, and federal governments in dictating to parents the ways in which they are allowed to raise their children. Governments are allowed to intervene if they determine the welfare and health of the child is at risk, but the exact circumstances which constitute such a risk are somewhat vague and open to interpretation. Again, there's that kind of class. For me, that's where class comes in. Parental autonomy is a controversial subject, and the doctrine has large numbers of both supporters and opponents. And this is from parentinganswers.com. I'll post the link. But I do think that there's a certain amount of if you have certain kinds of privilege, then you have more autonomy. And middle classness.
Is that true though? Because I feel like middle classness means you have less autonomy.
Well, it depends on who you're trying to control. So
Okay.
I think that I have all the autonomy in the world because I'm middle class. However, I can sit in judgment of my neighbors down the street who may not be at the same strata and say they are really not doing right by their kids.
That's okay. So my issue is not the making the judgment part, right? So I can sit here and talk about people's parenting styles all day. Wood and I can say, and tisk, tisk, tisk. But my issue is when you then start in intervening and into my lifestyle. So me sitting in judgment of you is one thing, but me taking your kids away is something totally different. You having to deal with the legal system and with CPS is totally different. And that's where my concern is. At what point, if we let certain people get in charge, like I said, we might not have nuts anywhere. You might not be able to, wear certain clothes. You might not have certain dyes in your food. I'm
Well,
challenged with this.
I don't want to be political, but I think that we already see where the trend is going. We see how we treat people who access, assistance programs being subjected to drug tests, and you have to demonstrate this and demonstrate that, and so there's these control mechanisms there. And I think that there are a lot of us folk who think we doing all right, who then not only sit in judgment but then pick up the phone.
Right. So I would say we should keep an eye on this because I have a feeling. So this is my
Hypotheses.
yes, that we will start to see the pendulum swing the other way because we're going to start seeing too many people of the majority being impacted by these decisions. And so people are going to start wanting a little bit more autonomy in how they parent their children. That's
I would concur that we will see that.
Mhm.
And I think it's because whenever the dominant culture is inconvenienced, then
Exactly. Exactly.
we
So now you're telling me I can't send my children to the park? Okay, well, let's change the rules now.
right. This is going to be, so and so's parents' law, uh,
Yeah.
you know,
So
and it'll be a thing.
so we have claimed it and named it already on the Add Water and Stir podcast. Check with us in a year and see how that's looking. We'll check back on that one. So we had another topic.
Yes. So
So okay, you want to go ahead?
yeah. So we I live in Northern Virginia. Baltimore is only about less than 50 miles up the road. So, Baltimore, of course, has been in the news this week because of lots of unrest and over and frustration over the death of oh, good Lord, Freddie Gray, who was arrested a couple of weeks ago and somehow ended up with a spinal fracture that led to his untimely death while in the custody of the Baltimore Police Department. So there's been a lot going on, and during an afternoon of rioting, or more activist protesting, as some of us might say.
We can call it civil unrest.
Civil unrest, because that's a whole another.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, an afternoon of civil unrest, I think it must have been Monday or Tuesday when things really jumped off in Baltimore. An image of a mother snatching up and beating on her son was broadcast nationally. And this woman, I believe her name is
Toya Graham.
Toya Grahams, yeah. And so she recognized her son out with other protesters with his hoodie on and a little face mask, and she proceeded to get in that bleep.
Bleep, the boop.
Because Mimi does not want this to have the special label. So
we try to keep our iTunes rating down.
So she got in that, and so then she was hailed as this hero, mother of the year. She's been on national TV, saying, and people were like, "Oh my goodness, what a fantastic, awesome woman this is for going and snatching up her kid and beating him in the street for participating in the civil unrest." And this has been locally, and now I think there was an article by Joan Walsh on Salon today that really said that us celebrating the Baltimore hero mom is really an exercise in hypocrisy. And no one is really kind of listening. She's finally kind of giving interviews, but people aren't really listening to her. They're like, "Oh, that's right. You got your kid off the street because, these protesters are really bad people. They're looting, they're damaging property, blah, blah, blah. Why can't they fill in the blank not do these things?" And Ms. Graham said, what I did that out of fear. I did that out of fear because I'm raising a young black male in Baltimore, which has a notorious history of police brutality. Freddie Gray is not the first person, even this year, to die in custody in that police department. And she said, I wanted to make sure he was safe. And I was so fearful that is how it manifested when I saw my child out, I needed to smack him. I needed to smack him and snatch him up to get him out of that situation because I was furious and I was afraid. And so, I kind of thought about this as a, I don't know, some kind of offshoot of our previous conversation about autonomy and kind of what does it look like. But people aren't listening to this mother's fear about why she snatched up her kid. They're not listening to the fact that she said she just recently lost her job. They're not listening to the fact that she is, this spiritual woman who is just working hard. I think she's got 6 kids, all of these kinds of things. And, she's like, I am afraid. And I'm not afraid that, it's not that I don't want him protesting. I don't want him to suffer the same fate. So, we have this kind of celebration of a very emotional response. And under any other circumstance, I don't think we'd be celebrating the beatdown of a kid in the street.
Exactly. Right. So I think you're right. This ties exactly into what we were just talking about autonomy, right? So if we just saw her in the supermarket, right, beating up, reading down her child in the same manner,
Right.
somebody would have videotaped her as they did in that situation and called the police on her. And then she would have been most likely involved with some type of social services or things like that. I think there's some other, things that come to mind is how fear impacts our parenting, right? So her reaction, I can understand it, right? Because I think a lot of times we have that fear. I have fear from Nana. If I see her touching something, that she's not supposed to touch that can hurt her, your first reaction is fear, and a lot of times it comes out as anger, right? And
Right.
it's a snatch or comeback or your loud voice.
Right.
So I can understand that. So of course, I don't necessarily think she should be vilified for that, but I don't think
Yeah.
necessarily she should be, made a hero for that. But I think your point in that is we're not really understanding what her motivation is behind all of this. Why are you? Some of the comments I were reading about why would you take your son away from participating in something like this if he felt strongly about it? And people aren't really listening to her response to that, which is, well, I'm fearful of my son because I don't want my son to become another Freddie Gray.
Right.
So the same way that Freddie Gray was arrested and died within police custody, if you have my child out there, part of this situation, they can pick him up, and the same thing can happen to him. And I don't want my child to be in that situation. So
Yeah, I think that the other piece of it, in terms of what happens in communities that have had enough, you see a variety of outcries. So we've seen peaceful protests, we've seen civil unrest, and the characterization of the unrest component with fires and property damage and all those kinds of things um, is characterized as kind of this is such bad behavior, and why can't those people go behave nicely?
you know what? I discount all of that, right? Because
Yeah,
Because America is founded based on unrest, right?
right.
You destroyed property when you threw that tea in the water,
Hello.
right? So that's somebody else's property that you destroyed. And so when somebody else does it, then you have a problem with it because it's not in alignment with what the principles that you want to promote
Yeah.
at the time. So I can't really get down with that kind of idealization about how people should act.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's BS. It's BS. But what's interesting is this mother has been held up as, see, not all of them are like that. Some of them even care, and and again, this mischaracterization of what.
But what they're not understanding is care about what? What does she care about?
Right. She cares about her son staying alive.
Right.
She don't
She's
care about
not.
her windows. She didn't care about that property. She didn't care about that. She cares about her son being alive and recognizing that being a part of a civil unrest protest that is more hype, more activist, and more dramatic than maybe just kind of the walking peacefully down by the harbor where everything is pretty and Camden Yards can play a game by themselves. The Orioles can play a game with nobody because they're scared of people wrecking their stuff. Is she's not concerned about that, and it's been really frustrating over the last couple of days. One, to see kind of us be okay with her giving her son catching a beat down versus this notion that somehow that is an acceptable behavior because, see, not all of them, meaning brown and black people, are behaving inappropriately when they're upset. And I just anyway, there's another blogger on WordPress. Her blog is called "I Am Begging My Mother Not to Read This blog." Posted a really powerful letter to her white counterparts called Separate but Equal, in which she really kind of explains kind of what's going on through her lens and kind of what we should be thinking about how separate has never been equal in this country, and kind of really rightly talking about Martin Luther King Jr. as the radical that he was. He was certainly a pacifist, but he never condemned people being a part of civil unrest, because he understood that those are the cries of the people unheard. So I'll be posting that. It's a really powerful piece that she wrote today, and I just want to thank her publicly, because it was good stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So there we are.
There we are.
All right.
I am tired of explaining to my kid.
What you tired of explaining?
I'm tired of explaining every couple of weeks somebody like dying at the hands of people that should be protecting us. So I'm sorry, I just got to say it. I'm tired of it.
So right. So the reality is this has always been happening.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
We're in a circumstance now, and I'm grateful for the emergence of this kind of Black Twitterverse, right? Yeah. That is able to use that as a platform to bring issues to the forefront and have those trending that we may have overlooked in the past, right? And now other forms of media have to take notice, right? Because everybody's looking at what's happening on Twitter, and then once you have a lot of people, Black Twitter, talking about it, they have to start reporting on those issues. So I'm grateful to see that we are starting to have a voice to talk about these issues in a way that other people have to talk. So I say we need to continue on with that. You know, we need to continue to make all these issues apparent so that people start seeing, like, this is ridiculous. At some point, hopefully, people are like, okay, I didn't really understand that this was going on. If every week we have something else in the news, then, I don't know, eventually, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and it's
I don't know.
I'm tired of explaining.
Yes, I understand.
Because it shouldn't be happening.
Right.
I'm not tired of explaining it to her, because it's finally coming to light and getting the attention that it deserves. Because, this is, we hardly go a week without it happening in some corner of this country. And so we talk about it a lot. And it's not that it's exhausting trying to explain these things to your kid. And so it's not that I don't want them to, it's not that I want them to stop reporting it. I wish it just wasn't happening. So that's what I wanted to say. So
right. And I think the challenge is that I think what's happening is for the past 2-3 years, we've been living in a continuous state kind of anger, right, and grief, and we continue to go through this process every time. Here goes another brother and another sister and another brother and another sister, and it's tiring, right, to continue to have to every time feel these emotions all over again. And I need to fight, and I need to talk about it, and I need to explain it, and I need to feel the feelings that I have. And it's important that we have all those, that we don't get tired and start thinking, oh, here's another one, so, let's let it go. So it's important that we continue to have all those feelings and those responses, but it is tiring and it's overwhelming, and it's hard, like you said, to be explaining to your child all the time why this is happening and why you're scared for your child. You're right.
Yeah. So yeah, I needed to say that. Thank you.
I'm glad you said it.
It is hard, and it is one of those things, I think, that makes not just being a person of color, but being a person of conscience that it should be exhausting for not just people of color, but people that just care, and people of conscience, and it just so. Whew.
So, should we do a wind down today? Should we, leave us on a high note?
I still have wine, so we need to wind down.
I still have wine too. Hey.
So, did we watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta part one of 800 reunion show?
Did I watch the whole reunion show? I think I watched part of it or something. I think I did watch it.
They're all dressed in white, like
Yes. And
angels.
Portia looks awful. Like her dresses.
I don't know what happened to the makeup. It's very severe. She's got a little side boobage.
The dress
It
just
doesn't
looks
seem
like a whole bunch of material that she got at Joann's Fabric. I don't understand what is going on. Who made that dress?
shade for day, shade for day. Well, you know that Kenya, who swears that people mistake her for Beyonce,
Yes.
twirl on, but she has on a dress that actually Beyonce wore to some award show last year, but she just has it, but it has the V-neck instead of Queen Bee kind of wore hers up to the throat. But
I did not know that.
yes, she is always doing the most. So Twitter had a good time with Claudia with her little mushroom hair.
Yeah,
But
the
I thought she
mushroom.
was going.
I thought she looked nice, but
I thought she was
Claudia's
classy.
bringing it back. The bob, the mushroom.
Yeah, the mushroom bob. I thought it was cute. Um, Nene.
It's being Nene. Nene doing Nene things, right? Nene is, it is no fun to argue with somebody and then they just kind of like be like, you know what, you're right. I'm wrong. You'd be like, ugh. You're right. I'm wrong. I don't even want to talk to you no more. You just, I know you're trying
It's
to be.
always my fault. It's always my fault. Which is
You
really
know what? It is always your fault, Nene.
fault. It is. Well, and it's interesting because all of a sudden it seems in the reunion that or even in the last couple of episodes of the season, she is trying to recast herself not as the villain, but as somehow as the victim.
Well, she's been doing that since last season. I
Uh,
mean, she did that on the last reunion. Like, oh, she's been, I'm very rich. I'm very busy. I just don't have time for these girls. As a matter of fact, I actually tried to get a therapist to come and talk to them, and they just tried to attack me. And I was just trying to be a friend to Phaedra, even though I, talked
bad.
so bad about
So
that girl.
bad about her.
You know what? Kandi gets on my nerves
Yeah.
because I don't like the way that she deals with her mom, and I'm kind of a little bit on Team Todd because I feel like
I'm all the way on Team Todd.
he gets the short end of the stick when it comes to her family. But what I do like about Kandi is that she has been consistent about how she feels about Nene and how she deals with Nene, and she's the one person that's gonna say and call her out and
Yeah.
give examples
Yeah.
on what her issues with Nene is. And Nene, she's the one person that Nene cannot come back on because Nene's kind of, and that's why
Yeah.
Nene has to resort to, you know what, it's just my fault.
It's just my fault. Sure.
Yeah. Because Candy's like, look, I don't like the way you act. You know what? You're cool. You fun. I like it when you're acting fun, but for real, let's not be real about how you actually act around everybody.
Yeah, she's just special. What was it? I somehow missed the whole. I missed a lot of episodes this season, so I missed the whole. Apparently, everybody has an African prince who's married, giving out Bentleys. I should get in line somewhere, but, but I don't know.
So much to say. So much to say right there, but I'm gonna leave it there.
I'm like, Elihu, dude, come on, like, where's my Bentley? But
You said it, I didn't. I was gonna leave it there, but I was wondering, maybe Ellie who's gonna get you a Bentley, and you
where's
can.
my Bentley? He is single. So anyway, well, I mean,
Right.
so
I was like, wait a minute, since when? I thought y'all were together. Okay, moving on.
but anyway,
The wine,
so
the wine.
but this whole I somehow missed the whole shade that was thrown at Cynthia about Uncle Ben Peter skipping around Atlanta.
It's that's just something Portia threw out there right then on the spot, I think. Yeah. So, okay.
Oh, and what was it? Kenya, who I just don't like any of these women, except for maybe Claudia. But yeah, I don't like her that much either. I just don't like any of them. But Kenya, I especially don't like. So when she was like, and I just can't believe that Portia behaved this way. And I watched Selma,
You know what? I
and
don't like
her
any of these
grandfather
women.
would be rolling in his grave, and I was like, I kind of agree that Hosea Williams probably is rolling in his grave. However, you had to dig deep for that one. I watched the movie Selma.
You know what? I don't like any of these women either, but I admire Kenya's ability to be so articulate in the way that she shades people.
Just
And she has an answer for everything right on time. She's
yeah,
able to flip things back on you. I mean, she's she has such a quick wit and a quick mind to be able to like, okay, I'm gonna come right back at you with
yeah,
something else.
yeah.
So
She's quick-witted, and fork-tongued, but she's just like
fork tongue, yes, she is.
so yeah. But I'll be tuning in this
To I don't think they need.
episodes.
I
I
don't
don't know.
understand why they dragged this out for three episodes
I don't know. It's just
because ratings, because we'll watch it, because why, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I am also, although I think I'm a week behind. I'm also a sad, embarrassed devotee of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Me too, but I don't think it's gonna be that great this year. Um,
I just it,
Jocelyn seems to be quite subdued in this.
they told her she kind of had to be after she,
Yeah, I
she laid
know, but I mean, that's the
out.
reason why I watched it. I mean, if she's gonna act like a regular person, then that's a waste of my time. I can see regular people at work every day.
Oh, okay. So Jocelyn Hernandez, we need you to bring it and all your crazy and I just I don't get her. I mean, I love her because she is a fascinating character, but I just don't get her. I don't like. I just
I
the
have a
Puerto Rican princess. Puerto
confession.
Rican princess. Just
I have a confession.
what's the confession?
For the first time, I think it was on the first episode, maybe. I kind of see what people see in Stevie J.
Okay, so if
I
you're
do.
listening to the podcast versus actually watching the podcast. And oh, look, I think we have a viewer. Hi. So if you're gonna listen to the podcast after it's posted versus watching us live or on YouTube, you should have seen my face fall like
It
a
did. It did fall. I felt bad after saying, but that's what it's called. It's called a
not
confession.
Stevie J.
Well,
Not
first of all, I've heard some things about Stevie J. We're not going to say it on the podcast, but because of the iTunes rate. But I heard some things, and you know, I don't know. He
I
has a
don't
little,
know.
he has a little
Like I just
swagger about him.
nope, nope.
Okay.
No, he's got
Eh.
that kind of rodent like smile face thing.
No, 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 no. That's Nico. That's Nico. But
Oh,
Stevie J
he's bad
seems like
too.
he'll have your back.
I don't
I like the way.
understand.
Okay, let me tell you. He was on kind of like a Watch What Happens Live, but
Hmm.
for Love and Hip Hop with Tigger or
Oh
Tiger.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tigger, yeah.
And he was just all in, like, my baby Jocelyn, my wife Jocelyn. I was like, yeah, you do it.
Oh yeah, that was after the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just, mm,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'll
But
sit
you
over
know what? I'm not going to see. I'm not going to fight you for.
Don't
Please,
sit me. Don't sit in judgment of me.
no judgment, no shade. But you can just, you and the Puerto Rican princess can go on over there.
No, ma'am. I'm not gonna fight Jocelyn because I think she'll
So
whoop me up.
exactly.
I think she'll whoop me up.
He was
And
all the way live at that finale
I'm
last.
married, so I'll just watch from afar.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that at all. So, but I gotta catch up on that, and yeah, I need to catch up on that because it's it's guilty pleasure TV for me, and it makes me feel better about myself.
Because you sit in judgment, everybody. Oh, the situation with Rashida and Kirk.
Okay, so
Okay,
I missed it.
hold up.
You texted me. Like, I needed her to divorce him last season.
I mean, yes, we've already agreed on that. But this man, I wish I would.
Oh, right.
I wish I would
I
find out that Wood had an apartment
as an
somewhere
artist. Yeah, and like,
and using my funds,
right.
my coins
He's
to purchase your apartment.
he's got this. I don't even know what the business is, but he needed an office, and so he gets the office. But I don't ever see where the computer is set up. But I saw the bed, and I saw some young chippy laying on said bed. Like, ooh, this is big. Like, what?
Well, first of all, have you never seen a queen size bed before?
Apparently not. She's been barely roughing it on some twin size beds, apparently.
So,
Dips one.
negative. So I just, and you know what? They were on the, after show too, and Rashida was just like, yeah, people go through stuff in their marriage. I'm like, no, I don't go through stuff like that in my marriage. And I am not tolerating stuff. I know y'all been together for 15 years, but what is it about you and your marriage that makes your husband feel like it is acceptable to use $3,500 of your money every month, of which
I'm sorry, the rent is that much?
that's what they said. $3,500 for that. Yeah, we saw it. So it was like a 1 bedroom, but it was in Buckhead, but still.
But
But
still,
anyway,
that's like New York rent.
well, whatever they said, $3,500 of my money, of my coins to rent an apartment while I'm like serving my jewelry up like the Avon lady in my spare bedroom. There's no.
At a Rubbermaid place.
She had her little container store back there. I was like, girl, you don't even have room to stand up.
So
She looked like she had a craft room. I'm looking for her to come out with some dyes
all I
and
can think about is I don't know if you watch Big Bang Theory.
scrap paper.
There's the Big Bang Theory where Penny decides to do those little flower barrette things, and so she has all of the guys like helping her. Like, it just reminded me of that kind of clutter. There was a lot going on there, but it's funny because she's like, I got this business, it's growing, and then Scrappy's baby mama, whose name I just can't be bothered to remember.
It is Erica.
Thank you. See, thank you. See, we're
Yeah,
Erica.
I got you.
And her, I don't know, rainbow tight dress fashion collection. Like, I
She has
admire
an Instagram boutique. I mean, it's good money.
admire these women and their hustle. I admire them for their hustle because everybody's got like, all of these little gigs going on. Of course, and I mean, I say all of them do. Now, I'm not gonna say Mimi needs, like, her side hustle situation got way out of control.
She did. You know what? Now that you're talking about an Instagram boutique, I feel like you and I should do something for those of advanced maternal age. I think we can design something, with what's that called? Ruching. I know all the other Instagram boutiques, they're really tight, but ours is gonna have ruching.
our our Instagram boutique tagline, like, flares and forgiving fabrics.
I love it.
Fair flares and forgiving fabrics.
We gotta have some peplum shirts, tops.
Empire waists.
That's gonna be our Instagram boutique.
And variations of different kinds of yoga pants. Not for actual yoga.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So
whoever's listening, don't take our idea.
Don't take our ideas. Watch for, an Ad Waters or Instagram, like, boutique. I actually have a brother machine. like
Me
sewing.
too. So let's get it going. I have a sewing machine over here too.
It's a Joanne's fabric up the street. So we're
I have a craft room just like Rashida's. I got my container store containers back here, so I'm ready. I'm already set up to go.
all about the hustle, y'all. It's all about the hustle. See, this is what happens when we go late on the podcast with
And drink too much wine. That's why it's called the wind down. So maybe we should just
the
wrap it up before we get
yeah.
too.
So, on that note,
Oh Lord.
before we make up a new boutique and side hustle to follow flattering fits with forgiving fabrics.
I can't believe you made that up on the spot too. So kudos to you. There we go.
Mom's got me hustling. That's I gotta get that side hustle. So. So anyway, as we wrap, we would like to thank our solo viewer and everybody else. Please do rate us on iTunes. Give us some feedback. Thumb us up on YouTube. Watch. Tell a friend. Tell people that you know who are interested in fostering, adopting, and parenting in general. Yeah, so check us out. So, Mimi, where can they find you?
Nowhere right now, but you can try to tweet me at Mimi Complex. I will read your tweet and I'll respond to your tweet. You can check out my blog and read the archives if you would like. My blog is complicatedmelody.com with an I, so that's melody with an I. So you can reach me at those two places. And what about you?
You can reach me on the blog at adoptivedblackmom.com, Facebook and Twitter, Adopted Black Mom. And I'm usually definitely hanging out on Facebook and Twitter, Facebook a little bit more during the day. So hit me up, and I should be posting some new stuff. Oh, yeah, I got to post my Constitution of ABM. That's good stuff. It's our kind of house rules and kind of how we govern things around here. I tell Hope that it's a benevolent monarchy.
Okay.
We don't have a parliament or anything, but we've been watching some English tutor kind of stuff around here lately. But yeah, it's a benevolent monarchy. But we do have a little constitution. But there's things there's not total freedom of expression.
So, what is the difference between a monarchy and a dictatorship? I'm sure you're gonna explain it all in there. Mm-hmm.
She's a princess.
Oh, okay.
And I'm okay.
All right. Got it. So she has a role in the kingdom. Yeah. Okay.
So that way, if it's a monarchy, she gets to be a princess.
Okay. Got
Dictator, she's just my kid.
A peasant.
Because it is kind of a pseudo-feudal system. Anyway.
Okay, let's wrap this up. All right. This was a great episode, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, episode 21, the start of a whole new set of blabbering ons about adoption
and shenanigans.
Yes, and shenanigans. Adoption and foster care in communities of color. So thanks for joining us.
Bye.